In the United States of America, the Fourth Amendment of the US Constitution is supposed to protect citizens from random and arbitrary stops and searches. Locals in Fort Hancock, Texas say they live in almost America because a lot of these basic Fourth Amendment rights don't apply here or in any part of the country within 100 miles of the US border or ports of entry. Jim Ed Miller is a Hudspeth County, Texas commissioner. He says federal border agents are stopping, questioning, and searching residents on a daily basis with no suspicion of wrongdoing.
For me, where I live, if I want to go to the county seat, I've got to prove that I'm a citizen. And you heard it earlier, but I don't think between Lincoln and Omaha, Nebraska, they have to do that. Why not? Are they better Americans than we are, than I am?
While the border has been the same since 1848, Miller says Hudspeth County residents weren't always subject to this kind of security detail. The Border Patrol presence has increasingly focused on internal enforcement since 9/11. I'm standing in Hudspeth County, Texas, where the 20-foot US-Mexico border fence abruptly ends. Intentionally or not, it's made private properties like this one a thoroughfare for migrants and traffickers.
We have sensors, they tell me, on the border, on the levee of the river, and I have asked numerous times if those sensors have a timed release control on them so they don't tell the Border Patrol for 3 hours that something happened here. Because too many times we have seen an issue and you don't see the Border Patrol for 3 hours. And then you look up and they're just everywhere.
Miller says while a lot of migrants cross the border onto his cotton farm, he says more damage is done by the Border Patrol, running over his property to apprehend them.
Well, we've had pipelines run over, we've had fences torn down, we've had concrete line ditches broken.
Miller says over the years, frequent damage to private property has been costly. He says his applications to Washington, D.C. for reimbursement have been denied. But Miller says the Border Patrol didn't always operate internally like this.
Growing up here when we were younger, they stayed pretty much on the border. Today, you've heard it, they're on our state highways, our interstates, farms, ranches, not on the border.
Miller says while the flow of migrants has varied, enforcement dramatically increased after 9/11, and he's concerned the current immigration debate spurred on by the presidential election may further increase Border Patrol surveillance.
Yes, it will infringe more on our right.
The Department of Homeland Security says illegal immigration has fallen to its lowest levels in at least 2 decades. A 2014 Gallup poll found 77% of Americans said it was extremely or very important that the government take steps to control US borders to halt the flow of illegal immigration. The Department of Justice established the 100-mile border zone in 1953. At the time, there were fewer than 1,100 Border Patrol agents nationwide. Today, there are over 21,000. Miller says Border Patrol efforts need to be constitutionally sound, and he's not alone. On YouTube, countless videos show people objecting to infringements at interior border checkpoints. People want to know, am I being stopped when I'm not at the border?
Correct me if I'm wrong, did I stumble into Mexico or is it still United States?
It's the United States.
Okay, well then therefore I should have the freedom to travel unmolested because I'm in America here.
The American Civil Liberties Union objects to the internal checkpoints. The ACLU says Border Patrol agents routinely ignore or misunderstand the limits of their legal authority. The organization adds, quote, although the 100-mile border zone is not literally constitution-free, the US government frequently acts like it is. For KRWG, I'm Simon Thompson.